Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers. We're going to start with introductions around the table first, which is our board and associate members, and then we'll go around the room. So I'm Jill Allen with Dorothy's Place in Salinas.
Robin McRae, Community Human Services. Good morning.
Barbara Mitchell, Interim Inc.
Anastasia White, County Monterey.
Tracy Belton, Health and Human Services, San Benito County.
Carmelina Martinez, CSUMB, Department of Social Work, and CHE.
Jackie Smith with CHE.
Rio Celis, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services.
Kurt Shockey, Veterans Transition Center.
Jose Gomez, Housing Authority, County of Monterey.
And Jose, welcome. I think this is your first meeting with us, isn't it?
Very glad to be here.
We're very happy to have you.
Alexa Johnson, Housing Resource Center.
I'm Anna Folia. I'm the CEO of Sun Street Centers, and I also want to introduce Renee Cousin. She's the new director of Pueblo Del Mar.
Can we start over here and go around?
Maria Corona, Department Chair of CSUMB, Department of Social Work. Nancy Goldrain, and I have a project to get an emergency sleeping bag to every homeless person in Monterey County.
Renee Rodman Jackson, Field Education Coordinator, CSUMB, Department of Social Work.
Jamie Luna, MSW intern at CHE.
Jennifer Rado, MSW intern at CHE.
Melissa Noah, intern at CHE. Krishanda Young, intern at CHE.
Juan, Homeless Coalition intern.
Thank God, because we were about to be overwhelmed.
Wes White from Salinas Homeless Union.
Carol Ann Manley, Community Reuse Network. Renee.
I'm Sean Stone, Senior Program Officer at Community Human Services.
I'm Kathy Weldon, the Public and the Fund for Homeless Mothers.
Winnie Tiambres, member of the public.
We have 3 HMS car specialists from Homeless Coalition.
Nicole Sakihara, Contract Compliance Coordinator with Homeless Coalition.
Reham Maftan, Administrative Coordinator at the Homeless Coalition.
Roxanne Wilson, Executive Officer of the Homeless Coalition. Stop. Let's just work.
Well served. Okay, folks, at this point I'll take any additions or modifications to the agenda. We actually have a couple that staff has come up with. We would like to add a presentation from Carol Ann Manley with her reuse network, and I think we're going to do that as item 4A, right before, after what we're doing right now before we approve the agenda. And to the business meeting down below, we have 2 things that we'll add during that meeting. Any other additions, modifications? Okay, moving on, Carol Ann.
Hi, I'm a volunteer. We have a group. We work with local hotels, restaurants, and offices. I've worked with many of you in this room. We connect items that are coming out of renovations. We make them available to the nonprofit community. Right now we're working on the Hyatt Hotel. It's a 500 guest room project. We've loaded about 300 rooms of those items, all to nonprofits. So if you are working with a group and you would like lamps, end tables, we don't do beds, but we do anything that's coming out of the rooms. We have small refrigerators, small shelf units. We also get office projects. So if you're looking for staff, you need some desks, you have some file cabinets that maybe you could use, and like I said, all the items coming out of the hotel room. We're happy to help as many groups as we can. We have very large quantities, so you never have to worry about, oh, I really need 5, but I'll take 3. It's not like trying to fight for a budget item. So I'd love to help any of the groups, and I have a list here that shows the items that are available. Like I said, many of the groups have already loaded on this project. We'll be loading through April. So if there's anything we can do to help, we would love to connect with somebody in your group. You just have to send a truck and some volunteers, and we will fit you into our schedule. So thank you.
Carol Ann, how can we contact you? Because you're going to be contacted by individual organizations that are members of the board.
What I can do is I can leave some flyers here. It shows our items. It has all my contact information, my email, my phone number, and it also shows pictures of the items we have on this project. But we are also working on other projects over time. So if you can let me know what would be helpful, that would be great. And all my contact is here, and I'll just leave it in the middle of the table.
And VTC has a box truck, and we have some volunteers. If someone doesn't have the resources to get the goods to wherever they're going, we'd be happy to help.
Just recently, we did an office project in Salinas, so VTC picked it up and actually brought it here for the offices. So it's very nice to see you all together. I've talked to some of you on the phone. I don't always get to associate faces, so I appreciate all the work you're doing, and anything we can do to help, we're happy to help. So I'll just leave these here.
Thank you, Carol Ann, and I'd like to thank you and congratulate you for leading the charge on figuring out how to reuse these materials instead of filling a landfill with them. That's really very commendable work.
These resources are really, they have a lot of years of useful life left. If you look at just the last couple weeks, when the Hyatt was getting $500, $600 a night for their hotel rooms, these are the items that just came out of that hotel. So it's not like they're beat up, they are in good condition, and we have large quantities. So we feel that these are a benefit and a resource to take advantage of.
And our families have loved them. They were very excited.
Thank you.
They said, "Can I take 2?" I'm like, "Well, I already have another pickup, so yeah."
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Good.
Fantastic, and thank you, Community Reuse Network. Okay, now we're going to go on to some business items. We have the approval of minutes of January 15th. That's the board minutes, and January 22nd, which is the minutes of the Oversight Committee. These were attached in your packet, and you have them in front of you. Do you need a couple of minutes to peruse, or would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Tracy, thank you. Second. And who made the second? I'm sorry. Kurt, thank you. Do we need any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval of both sets of minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Barbara Mitchell abstains. Motion is carried. Thank you very much for the approval of minutes. Now we have a presentation that is being made for consideration of board membership of CSUMB. They are currently in associate member status and would like to move up to board member status, and they have a 15-minute presentation for us. Please go ahead.
Do we come down there, because we actually have
Whatever you like.
Maybe easier that way.
So while everyone's coming up, I just want to say this is my 6th year now as the founding dean of the College of Health and Human Services. I'm thrilled to be here right now. We've made a lot of progress within the department. We started with 2 departments, largely not so diverse. We are now 5 programs and departments, about ready to go into hopefully additional programs as well that we have planning, and we have very much, my area is community health workers. I worked with the National Council of La Raza, now Unidos US, or Unidos Us, depending on who. It's the largest Latino advocacy organization in the country. I've also worked a lot with HBCU network nationwide, and really trying to make diversity the hallmark of our college and inclusivity the hallmark of our college. And we've really been able to do that and continue to do that. It's an ever-ending job, right? But when we thought about what we wanted to call this, and we hope that the university has a lot of, as you can imagine, universities are very bureaucratic. So we are moving forward with a center application, so we will become a formal center. We can't say that yet because we haven't gone through the academic senate process of approving a center, but it will be community health engagement, or in Spanish, Centro Che, which resonates really well. You can probably guess why. But this is what we would call ourselves. Can I get the next slide? Thank you. So right now, we're really focusing on an integrated wellness project. We have our Master of Social Work, which you can see is so represented by our student population as well as by our faculty. We're really thrilled with what's going on in that department. We are now accredited for the maximum amount of time nationally, which is 8 years. We just received notification, so thank you to our incredible faculty in really making that happen, because it frees us up to do a lot of other things, which is just phenomenal. So we have our Master of Social Work program, which is accredited by the Council of CSWE, Council of Social Work Education. We are leading the university in accredited programs, so there are so many acronyms I have to remember all the time. We also have a BSN program which will be involved, so we take RNs and ADNs and we put them through BSN training, and that is accredited by CCNE, the Council on Collegiate Nursing Education. We have a collaborative health and human services program, which was really the hallmark program that initiated a lot of the work in the college. It's under a department which is called Health, Human Services, and Public Policy. That program is a hybridized social work, nonprofit management, public administration, and public health. And we have an incredible new chair who's leading that program, Dr. Daramola Cabral, who is an epidemiologist as well as a PA herself. So she bridges that public health and healthcare providers, which makes a lot of interprofessional work possible and interdisciplinary work possible. We have our Master of Science Physician Assistant program, which is the first within the entire 23 campus CSU. The MSPA is not a program that the CSU had before, so we were able to crack that nut, which was a very big nut for our system, and we are thrilled with how that is going. We have received provisional accreditation from ARC-PA, which is the national accreditation body, and when they came to do their site visit, we had no citations and no observations, which are the negative things that you walk out with. It is focused on providing care for the underserved. It is focused on addressing health disparities. It is completely focused on diversity, and the students receive training both in our nursing program and in our PA program in Spanish, how to do health assessments in Spanish, and also not to just be culturally competent, but to be culturally resonant, which brings that to a completely different level. We have a kinesiology program, which we're hoping to get more involved in this, particularly when we know that in working with folks who suffer from chemical use and dependency, oftentimes it's the exercise that can really begin to shift the brain structure to cause the endorphins to come from the inside, not the outside, right? So we're hoping to get them involved, and we're soon to offer a Master of Public Health. That will be coming along. And then eventually what we want to do is create those dual degree options where students can do both. They can take an MSW and an MPH, or an MSPA and an MPH, and really come. All of the programs within our college are coming from that public health framework. How can we make a difference in a very broad sense? Like that. Does anybody have any questions at all? No.
I have one,
Sure.
but I want to wait until the end of your presentation.
Okay, great. And I hate to just talk at people, so if you have any questions in the middle or any comments, please give them to me. So we are an interdisciplinary, interprofessional, and intersectional team, and you can kind of see that represented. We operate the college within a very power with versus power over structure, because I really believe in that type of leadership. We have vast experience in community-based interventions and programs targeting the underserved. I think that's what we've all done, the folks before you, and I know Renee and other folks. We are really focused on the underserved. We have bilingual, binational, and multicultural assets that approach diversity from an assets lens. So many times when we talk about diverse populations or underserved populations, I often say it's sometimes the pobrecito model, you know, oh, you poor thing, look at what you've overcome, right? We don't want to take it from that standpoint. For me, that's always been a very almost condescending standpoint. We want to get to the place where we can acknowledge the fact that people are not only resilient, they've also gained a lot of self-efficacy, a lot of how-to, a lot of si se puede in getting through and overcoming those things. We want to take it to that level because in that way, you're really facilitating an environment wherein people can empower themselves. We can't empower each other, but we can create an environment wherein people can do it themselves, and that's what we're going for. We have, so resiliency, social justice, and self-efficacy based approach. We have a lot of experience in the social ecological model and the structural environmental approaches. So really looking at the context of situations, not just one factor, not just two factors. And I'm really excited because we just hired an incredible biostatistician, Meng Heng Tsai, who can do structural equation modeling so we can figure out what is really having an impact, right? Which is very, very essential when you're trying to really look at things at that granular level and figure out what works. I can't do that work, but she can. She's phenomenal. We're whole person centered, and we also have vast experience. Both Maria and I have published a lot in promotores or community health worker interventions and evaluations, which is how you really see the community move through a lot. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over.
Can we go?
Yeah, next. Oh, one more. That's mine. I'm sorry. I'm getting so excited. So what we really want to do is get upstream of the problem and really look at what are these social ecological factors, and also integrating that with the medical model. So not relying on just one model, but really looking at both. And how can we get to those structural environmental concerns that create health disparities from the get-go. And I'm so excited that we have a Surgeon General within the state who's talking about ACEs from the get-go, because that's where we want to start from. You know, what has happened during, and I don't know if anyone's read the latest publications on the adultification of Black and brown folks in the United States, but we're really, we're growing people from the standpoint, we're expecting a lot from very, very young ages, and that often causes a lot of trauma to occur within folks from the beginning. So now I'm going to turn it over.
So, we're working a lot with Jackie and the other staff there at Chinatown, and all of you kind of know the population in Chinatown, kind of what we see, and so we just kind of want to give what we're seeing currently. And this is not the outliers. This is kind of, you know, folks with demographics 28 to 65, predominantly men, increased LGBTQ identified individuals. Going over to the health issues, folks who are experiencing a disability, either one that is you can see or not see. Sometimes we forget folks who, you know, if you can't see a visual disability, then they don't have it. Well, that we know that's not the situation. You know, health issues, cancer, high blood pressure. But going back over to the health issues, you know, this dual diagnosis, okay, schizophrenia, bipolar, stress, PTSD. We see much of that going on. So really looking at, you know, when we're thinking about the homeless population and those who are not in sheltered, kind of what they're experiencing there. And I think that's a common thing that we're all, this population that we're working with. Go ahead, next one. In regards to the HHAP program, I'm going to have Jackie help me a little bit with this too, what we're doing with the wellness, moving over to the mid-pen. These are the services and providers that we're going to begin having there once we're going to get started here. And we're already, actually, there's a lot of groundwork that happens before you go forward, and so many of you know that there's a lot of time that's put into that. So we've been doing this, but we're looking at having some volunteers, some PT, medical doctors, whole person care nurses, the interns. Many of the interns of the program that the dean just spoke about will also be there, which is a great training ground for them, but also they learn information that they can then take with them, okay, and begin to share that information. you wanna help with the next one?
Oh, okay. And so, another thing that we're gonna focus on is mental health stabilization. So right now, a lot of our interns, mostly what they focus on is psychoeducational groups and life skill classes. And then on occasion, we do referrals. So now we really wanna focus on the referral part and working more intensely with Monterey County Behavioral Health to help us connect these clients to the social workers that they need. And then we also want to bring in specialist that works with people that suffer with chemical use and dependency, like, alcohol and drugs. Because right now, we do have someone that comes to the center on Thursdays, but we want to make it so maybe an NA group, and then just have an on-site counselor there to administer a lot of those intervention skills. And then we're still going to offer individual-based supportive counseling as well. We want someone on-site to actually do that piece of the work. And then another thing that we're gonna be doing is our homeless engagement and response team, which we call HEART for short. And so we're gonna do, and then also we have a housing navigator. So the HEART team is basically our street outreach program. So we're gonna be working with the cash folks to, get people the help they need. We're gonna bring our services to them. And we're still working on what that's actually gonna look like, right? We should be implementing that soon. And that goes along with our housing navigation. We're gonna be working with CHS to move people into the new navigation center. That's part of CASH as well. And this is going to include intensive case management, social services, job placement, and of course housing.
Jackie, you mentioned CHS, I'm assuming you mean Community Homeless Solutions?
Yes.
Because Community Human Services is also.
Yes, sorry. I know the acronym, so yes.
So many
I mean, yes, the one that's taking over the navigation center. So the one that's going to be managing that, which is Community Homeless Solutions. Yes.
Yeah, and so currently, Jay, what was formerly the Chinatown Wellness Center, has been providing these, we're gonna continue to provide these outreach, computer lab, workshops, life skills classes, psychoeducational groups, case management, supported counseling, links to resources and services, and the events. But I must say, and really want you all to kind of see this group as collaboratively. We haven't done this alone, okay? We've done this, this has been done with many of you in the room, okay? And it's been done, it was being done well before I got here 2 years ago, which is one of the things that brought me here to this area was the fact that CSUMB, I heard something early on that this community grows their own. That's not the way it is in all areas. And I think that just speaks to the community that you've all been involved in to assist to get to a place in their lives where they can experience wellness. Like, unfortunately, those in the upper echelons of society tend to, you see that, but really, the community that is forgotten about that you all do. And so this is kind of continuing on the work in that area. So.
Right, and so that brings us to our pride and joy, which is going to be called the Chase Center, and it's going to be located in New Milton housing. And as you can see right here, when I took this picture, it was kind of funny because this is our old site, our current site where we are. Yeah, the reflection. So it kind of lines up perfectly to where we're moving to. And so that's going to be the front of our site. We're pretty excited, and right now we're still working out, the lease and all those other things. So, but we expect to move in by May 2020, hopefully before. And then Betsy already shared some of the hiccups that she's having with that at the last meeting. So we're still trying to, get through that. But this is what it's going to look like. Want to speak about that? All right. Okay, so I'm so excited. So it's going to be 2,240 square feet. So on this side, we're going to have our medical side. And so this is going to be our admin office. And this is going to be an intake office where the clients come in and we're going to do an assessment and everything like that. This is going to be our physical examination room. So we're going to make it into a real doctor's physical examination room. We're going to model it after our PA site that we have in North Salinas. And then it's going to be a medical bio room, which is where we're going to store medicine and then do away with waste. This is supposed to be a bed bug facility that we thought we were going to manage, but we're not, but it kind of came to our space, we ignore that. Those are restrooms. This is going to be our intake, our intern's office. And then we're going to have a window here, a one-way window, so when people are engaging into like these different practices, interventions, that our interns will be able to, observe them. And so this is our case management office, which is also going to act as if as our individual counseling room. Then it's going to be, doors and stuff to escape through and stuff. And then we're going to have a drop-in office. And this is for all of you that wants to see a client, but you need a space. And so we're going to have this office for you to come in. You can reserve the space and you can see your clients. The same thing that we do now. And then we're going to have a waiting room area, our classroom space. And this is going to be a full kitchen, because a lot of our clients, we find out that they don't know how to cook once they move into these buildings because they're so used to cooking outside, they forget about a pot on the stove. Or they just need to cook healthier because, we're all about health, right? So we want to teach them how to use the food that they get and cook healthy from it, like canned foods and different things. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a lot of work there.
And me, now it's my turn. Again, I think I want to bring what Kai mentioned, that through the School of the Department of Social Work at the college, as the dean mentioned, we are already connected with the community, with many of you. We have interns all over the county, and that's what we want to continue. One of the things that it was mentioned, we just got accredited for 8 years, so it's a great opportunity to really continue those collaborations with the agencies around the county, and also create the space in the center to have the space and the collaboration with everybody at the area in Salinas. So this is what we're trying to do. Again, accredited for 8 years, thinking about how we can expand, how we can really have also in our classroom space training for case managers, training for the service providers that is needed within our entry-level social service providers. So that's what we are trying to do, and continue that collaboration, expanding the people that we work with. I'm glad that Renee was able to come because she's in charge of our field placements, and she's always going out in the community, finding new agencies, finding new places where students can go and learn. And the other thing that I want to emphasize is how are we creating a space to provide services for the community, but also to teach our own graduates, for them to later on go and provide those services in other areas. So this is a great opportunity for us, and the purpose of us presenting here is again to have a space in this board to be able to continue with these collaborations and to be able to have an impact, increase the impact that we have within that. And I think, thank you. Any questions now?
So a couple of questions. The services that you've presented are hugely beneficial and very diverse. What are your methods for evaluation to see if you're actually being effective within the community you serve?
That's what we're working on right now. We're working with our biostatistician, trying to make sure that we're creating some not so research burden evaluation tools, which is where the experience with community health workers really helps out. So we've done a lot of national work with multiple agencies. National Council of Atlanta has about 300 affiliate organizations. So my job at that time was to create evaluation tools that weren't so research burdened. Because the minute we give someone a load of paper to fill out, or even an iPad, or even an interactive iPad, any of those things, it becomes more about what we want to know from them as opposed to how we want to help. So we're integrating a lot of different things to see how that's going to work. And then we're going to work with our biostatistician to really look at what modeling as we get those data, because you can imagine getting numerous data as well and data sources. Yeah, it just ends up being, what do we do with all this? So we're really carefully looking at what are the factors and how much of the changes can be explained with certain populations due to certain things, right? So really looking at how we can model that all out. And we're in the process of doing that right now.
And one of the things that I think is really important to think about is how do we get the data back from participants themselves, getting it by our students that are right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're looking at and thinking within Jackie, as we plan for this evaluation services, is how do we do instant data collection?
Right.
How was it for you? Was it good? And how can we modify as we go through? We cannot wait a year to find out if it worked or not, because by that
Right.
time it's not. So we're doing it as we go, but at the same time, we're reporting it. One of the things that for us in social work, the department, is to really think about how our students are doing, impacting the community, but how are we collecting the data, because that also comes from our accreditation body, that we have to get back and know what we're doing is having an impact, and that is providing the services that we're saying that we're providing. So we are having evaluation at the time, but also how do we collect it and look at a longitudinal way to be able to see how it's working. And the purpose of the being in this board member and creating the center is also to have the data as a pilot to then bring more funding for the community.
Right, and collaborate.
So evaluation is very important for us to be able to know what we're doing and that we're doing it right and that it's having an impact in the community.
And also using motivational interviewing. So we're using techniques to acquire the data and to really begin to speak to folks. Well, we're already speaking to folks a lot, but to continue that so that facilitates, that whole process facilitates more of a goal-seeking, empowering environment wherein folks can really think about what goals am I setting, what could potentially derail these goals, not setting them too high, but setting them to a place where people can achieve that wellness gradually. So, I think all of those things, and thankfully we have a really robust curriculum to work with our students on. So as our students are working as interns supervised, they can acquire those skills. And then again, Kai talked about growing your own. In every single program, we're really trying to do that, making sure that we are growing our own within, and folks who are gonna stay here and benefit populations for a long time to come.
Well, that kind of makes a good segue into my second question. Your services are very valuable, but what do you consider to be your primary mission? Teaching or providing services to the community?
I think that we're gonna have to use some constant comparison. I think a lot of what we do, we're community health engagement, and I think that defines it perfectly. How can we engage the community in seeking wellness? As, universities are very bureaucratic, very risk-averse environments, right?
Necessarily so.
Necessarily so. So as we build that structure within the university, and as we build those relationships within the university, we will be able to do an increasing amount of things, right? Because the university, legal, everything will be more, and we will grow our capacity. And having the ability to grow our capacity with health and human service providers working together will be, I think, potentially groundbreaking.
And that's a really good question, Jim, because when you look at it from a university standpoint, you often say, our mission is to teach, right?
Dr.
And to show.
O'Shea would say that, yes.
Yeah. And so when you look at it from a social work perspective, it's to not just teach, but it's also to be there with and to show, okay, and to provide a service. Okay? And so I would say we're doing both, okay? And so we accredited programs in universities, those are fairly, in some ways, new, okay? So we have the university policies that we have to kind of align with, plus we have our accreditation piece that says, as a social work program, these are the things you need to do to help prepare students to go out there and serve an ever-changing, diverse world, okay? And so getting back to your question again, are we teaching or we practice? We're both,
We're
okay?
both.
And so those are the things that we constantly need to balance, okay? Because one of the things that we talk, or I try to emphasize, is that we're always doing evaluation, we're always doing assessment, okay? We may not know we're doing it, but we're always doing it because we're really engaged with all parts of an individual, observation, listening, being there with them. So we're always engaged in that as social workers and, as providers too. So we're both a teaching and providing place. And so, one of the beauties, I go back to, I don't want to age myself, anything for a minute here, 25 years of being an undergrad, in my placement, okay, as a social work master's, and I still bring back what I learned back there with me here today, because it was very valuable. At the time, I might have been a little annoyed that I was having to do it, okay, but now it's like it benefited me a whole lot. So it's both. It's teaching and practice, and taking what hopefully for you all, you get to take what you've learned with you to.
And I would say that a university that just teaches is not a steward of place. And that's been the problem with universities nationwide. That's why you can have a USC with an endowment that could solve all these problems in a second, that has not been a good steward of place, right? The public universities carry with them a very, very, very strong charge of being a steward of place. And we take that really seriously. So this is part of our being that steward. And that means service.
It was just only a suggestion is when you're looking at evaluation tools, before you reinvent anything, I
Right.
would look at what kind of everybody is mandated to use in
Yes.
terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
the homeless management information
We're doing
system.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
And you have many pass-through things through your contract through interim of outcome measurements, and then you're also gonna have outcome measurements dealing with cash. And looking at what tools like the behavioral health system, they've just moved to reaching recovery, so that you don't overburden your interns with data collection from, we already have mandated like 3 different sources. You don't want to give them 4 different
No.
sources.
Nor do we want to recreate 5.
Data collection.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you were talking about having a one-way observation window, I would think that there could be some issues about having that, because you would have to inform every client that there's an observation window there. And I would suggest that that might be very troublesome for many of the individuals that you may be dealing with. So you may want to rethink that system of having an observation
It
system.
will have something where you can turn it off,
Yeah.
right? So it will
It's not
have it
gonna
on
be-
off.
It's
It's
right.
not always there.
And we're
So, and we would
currently-
post if it was there. So I mean, would
Okay.
be super visible, yeah.
Yeah, and we're currently in the process of like the policies and procedures. Well, those are already, we're writing those. But yes, definitely when you work in a center where there's observation windows, letting people know that will follow all that sort of stuff.
Right.
The other thing with evaluation, you were saying an assessment about you don't want to inundate folks with collecting all this information, nor do we want to collect information that we don't need and we're not going to do anything with. Okay, for the sake of just collecting it. I've seen that happen a lot, and so we just for the sake of asking something because we're just curious or whatever. I mean, there's no need to collect. And then also the other piece is that we don't want to collect something and not do something with it. Okay, and just let it sit there on the shelf. I don't think that's the right way to go about evaluation and assessment either. So a lot of what we're working through are those things. But thank you, that was a really great suggestion.
The other thing is Mid-Penn has another whole evaluation
Yes,
system
yes.
written into their contract, which we are at this point saying we cannot use because it no longer matches the county system. So that would burden us with an additional system.
So and how can we mitigate that research burden so that we actually have time to facilitate helping folks and serving folks as opposed to collecting data?
Collecting data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just be careful of adding any additional data.
Yes,
So
thank
I
you.
do want to add real quickly that I have been collecting data for interim, and so far we've met all of our outcomes that we said we're going to do. So.
I do have one more question. You're presenting to a board of a coalition of homeless services providers, and everybody at the table either directly shelters or houses people or works at their sole mission of providing support to that. You're applying for membership to be at this table, but your organization is a little bit different. And interestingly enough, our bylaws committee is going to be meeting right after this meeting. So we'll be taking a look at the bylaws and who we can actually accept or how we want to modify acceptance for membership. But why do you feel it's important that your organization, that SHE, be a part of a coalition of homeless services providers?
I think, well, go ahead.
You're more health-oriented than you are housing-oriented, I think is what I'm getting
I would say we're both, okay? Because so, I mean, there are things that lead to somebody being unsheltered or homeless, okay? And so we're thinking about, you know, there's health issues, there's these things that maybe somebody had a medical issue in their family or for themselves, and because of medical costs, and they lost everything, and now they're living in their car, or they're considered homeless. We know that what we're doing here is gonna support people to be housed, okay? Looking at those, and then what we're gonna be doing after, was supporting them to continue to stay where they're gonna be. So I would say we are a service provider. We may not have structures where we place people to live, but we have structures in place that are gonna support them until they get there. Okay, so I think we're directly connected to that
And
piece.
I would say, how can you do one without the other,
Yeah.
right?
So,
You know, that's the part for me that is really contextual. If I provide a home for someone, but I'm not facilitating their health, how can they stay in that home? And I think that's, in working with Jackie, I think that's something we've really seen. When I first came here as dean, I met with Ray Bullock, and he said, I don't want to put another tent there, right? I don't want another tent there. What I want is for people to get into permanent shelters, and we weren't doing such a great job. We were doing a good job with service learning and really getting things going. But we've got to change that associate member thing as well, because I keep looking, that was the Service Learning Institute, which did incredible work. But when it came time, when the provost came to me and said, you know, we can either, you know, not do this anymore, or you can take it on as the College of Health and Human Services, we took on the whole enchilada, right? We don't want a little piece, you know, and I think when we get into that sectorial space, it's not about any one of us, it's about what the collective can do for the community. And that's what we're really seeking, those partnerships that can, and I think we do, you know, we definitely have some really good skills, we definitely have some really good connections at the federal level, we're building those connections at the state level. And what I really envision as, you know, as a partner is really collaborating on a level so we can bring in that wealth of services and those wealth of funds to resource a lot of things, not just us, but in collaboration with others.
One of the reasons that I moved here 6 months ago, housing in this area is very difficult. And one thing that I've been finding, income has huge gap in this area too. I was living in New Mexico, and you are in a house, you are in a paycheck to paycheck every month. All of us are in risk of being homeless. And I think when we think about that, the services that we provide, and I think the college and within the social work department, the way that our values or ethics within the profession of social work is looking at the whole person and the environment where we live. So looking at the place where we are and the needs in this area, homes is an area that is very needed for everybody in the community, because I will say, even myself, if I lose my job, I lose my home. So it's a need for all of us, and how the services that we provide within the School of Social Work, and then the collaboration within the college, and the collaboration that we have had, that the department has had with many of you within this county, is great, and we are asking to be part of that collaboration by being part of this one.
Well, I just want to say that we're already an associate member. So, we've been an associate member for years. So if we can't be a voting member, then what's the point? What was our whole reason of being at the table as an associate member if we have no value to this coalition?
Associate members have extreme value to this coalition.
But I'm just answering your question. So you said, why do we deserve to be a voting member? And I'm like, okay, why do we deserve to be an associate member? I feel like for the same reason, because you just said we have value to this coalition. And so another thing is that we provide support services and connections to all of you, because we're their first point of contact. I'm always out there. So they're gonna come to me first before they come to any of you, or if I'm always out on the streets and say, hey, how can you help me? And I can say, you know what, I know this person, I know that person, so I can guide them to where they need to go. I feel like that's our point here, and then we can help them sustain housing, because a lot of them have issues. Just because you get housed don't mean that you're gonna keep housing, and as you know, they always come back.
Thank
And
you.
so, that's our point of view here. That's why we deserve to be at this table.
And I think, you know, I think at every single level, I do also think we bring a lot of very strong connections to Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, Health Resource Services Administration, the CDC. I mean, there's a lot of very strong networks that we can bring, that I know some of you already have, but we can also, I mean, that we can make it stronger.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going into item number 7, continuing care coordination updates, and I'm going to ask Roxanne to lead this portion of it.
Okay, so as many of you are aware, we had decided to end our contract with CTA for coordinated entry. I notified them on the 7th and gave them 30-day notice. Unfortunately, they responded with a shortened time frame. So as of February 28th, we will no longer have access to home. We are currently working with WellSky to get us set up, and also to create a system to sustain us if there is a gap between both databases. But everything is going to be okay. So stay tuned. On February 28th, we will have, we'll be logged on to Zoom, and we'll allow people to jump on and do like open office hours. If you're HUD funded, you're familiar with how they do open office hours. People could just jump on and tell us if they're having issues with HMIS or if they're getting stuck. So we'll be available, and we'll just keep you all in the loop as we go through this very large process.
So we won't have access to home on the 28th, but you still, I'm assuming, have all of the data. WellSky will eventually have all the data.
We are waiting for our data to come from CTA, but yes, that is.
Are we going to get their data, our data from CTA by the 28th?
That is what Bob says he will do. We are, like I said, we're looking at alternate means to sustain coordinated entry if there is a gap between the two services, okay? So just be on the lookout, and keep your staff apprised, and we'll also talk to them directly, so we'll be here. Also, system performance measures is a very large report that we submit to HUD every single year. We are in the middle of that right now, actually in the final stretch. That is also due on February 28th, so the 28th is a fun day for us.
Is there anything that the members here can be doing to facilitate that?
No, Derek has been working with your admins. Yeah, Derek's been working with your admins. We ran some reports yesterday. There's still about 200 errors that need to be fixed, so he's working through them. We're on schedule. There's no reason to be concerned. Also, as you are aware, we have the housing inventory count, the point in time count that is in process. We received about 2/3 of the forms, and Derek will enter into reconciliation stage within the next couple of weeks, hopefully after the 28th. And he'll be in contact with your admins as well. Usually the hick and pit is fairly easy. It's just really reconciling the data to HMIS. Also, as you are aware, the County of Monterey DSS, County of Monterey Health Department, County of Monterey Housing Department, San Benito County Health and Human Services, and the ESG recipient, which is the City of Salinas, in conjunction with us, the coalition, we've been working to identify a consultant to overhaul the 10-year plan. We have identified one. I'm currently working with Supervisor Alejo to see if he wants to put that on the Leadership Council agenda, or if he wants us just to move forward. It will be a 1-year contract. It has a lot of engagement written into it. So I know we ask a lot of you all the time. Just be ready for us to ask more of you. It's very data-driven. The people that we're looking at the company is called Focus Strategies. They're currently doing Santa Cruz's 10-year plan and doing a whole bunch of deep data analysis for Santa Cruz. We kind of like the idea of working with a company that is also working with a sister continuum of care, or comparable, close in proximity continuum of care. As I said, we're currently in possession of the contract and we're just waiting for Supervisor Alejo to tell us how he wants to handle it from this point forward. ESRI. We are currently purchasing a database called ESRI. County of Monterey, many city jurisdictions all use this database. What's wonderful about ESRI is our database will be able to compare data with the county and the cities. We will be using it for multiple activities. The big one currently is that we're going to be identifying encampments and we're gonna provide that information to the decennial census, because they're gonna send enumerators out to try to get those who live in encampments to engage so they can collect the data. We're also going to be using this for the core outreach team. And we are finally going to use it to do the 2021 homeless point in time count. So our homeless point in time count will be digital for the first time. We're really excited about that because we'll be able to watch the numbers come in real time. That is fascinating. ASR, which is the consultants we use to do the homeless point in time count, they are currently using ESRI in other communities. They absolutely love it. They're familiar with using it, so we can't wait for us to do it ourselves. I've also met with KION because we are going to do an advertising campaign for our homeless census. Just so it doesn't get confused with the decennial census, we're going to start our campaign in May and it will run until November. The campaign really is to get the community at large aware of why we do it, how we do it. Also for us to get some community buy-in. We don't want people calling police when they see everybody hitting the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we also want to get volunteers. One of the things that I've heard over and over and over again is the 2019 census didn't have enough volunteers. So I have a Ms. intern who has been who's in the process of contacting potential volunteer partners to gain interest. He's already reached out with Ms., of course. The Peace Corps, he's going to do some focus or some target marketing in South County to try to get South County people revved up and ready to volunteer, because we also have a hard time getting South County counters. And he'll be working on this all the way until November. Hopefully you'll get to meet him, he's wonderful. And finally, we submitted our HHAP grant the 14th? So it was last Friday. Gosh, it seems like a million years ago. The RFP is currently out with the committee that the Leadership Council has identified as a group to work on the RFP. We are anticipating release of the RFP the first week of March, and we are also going to have a mandatory bidders conference on March 19th. Those numbers have not been solidified yet, but this is what we're currently working with on the time frame in order for us to make it to the May Leadership Council for final recommendations. So it's going to be a very fast process, but if you were here with us through HEAP, you know how it goes. Stay tuned, we'll be informing you throughout the process.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. So I have two, the ESRI, will there be, I imagine there'll be trainings and things to really, great.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
And then our College of Education, this isn't my program, but our College of Education Dean, Jose Luis Alvarado, is doing incredible work in training teachers down in King City on the Hartnell campus. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you need volunteers, if we could potentially help, or I could make that link.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I look forward to talking with you more on that. We're really excited about ESRI. It's being used in so many different capacities. It has GIS, geolocation functions. It has surveys. When I think about all of the things that ESRI can do, it's kind of mind-blowing because it's super inexpensive compared to other databases that we've purchased in the past, so. And then just at the thought that we can compare data with the county, that's a big deal for us as well. Yes, ma'am?
Can we get a preview of that at one of the meetings to see what it looks like? And also, are we talking about doing the surveys now electronically instead of the method that we've used of post census to select like 400 people to do it?
I spoke with ASR about doing the survey, and they believe that they haven't seen it be beneficial to do it that way because of how we structure the surveys, right? We usually send people with lived experience out to do the surveys, and it can get very complicated with service, you know, having the proper service for you to do it virtually. For certainly we're gonna do it for the actual night of the count. But yes, I do wanna do a demonstration to show you guys all the different possibilities, and maybe get some more buy-in from our partners who
And
are doing.
are we gonna run a trial of this before the census so that we know like that we have, if this requires cellular service, that we have cellular service, or if we're gonna have to have people carry hotspots with them if there isn't sufficient, so that we do a test run and avoid things like Iowa, having an app that, you know, doesn't work, or that we don't have any cellular service, or, you know, because there are places,
Yes.
like Pacific Grove lacks cellular service in a lot of areas. I mean, there's just a lot of Fort Ord, doesn't have good cellular service.
I think we should talk to Google to come down and provide us some cellular service.
And stay here and keep providing
it. I mean, I think one thing is we really need to look at the issues of cellular service and where this is going to be done to determine if we're gonna have problems with this.
So leading up to our 2021 census, we will be having the core outreach team and also our partners for the decennial census out there. So they'll be able to report back to us if there's failures in the system. But the intent is that we will use it for our census.
I'm just suggesting that we need a really good look at this before we buy into it, that it's going to work and we're not gonna have technological problems of using it in this county. So we don't get too far into this and then find that a lot of the area that requires cellular service and we don't have it. And
I would suspect that Santa Cruz is coming across some of those issues as well, so definitely.
Yeah, we have way more land area to cover.
I do believe, actually, Barbara, I do recall asking this question to ESRI in one of our initial previews of the software, and if I recall correctly, you can store your results and it stores locally on your phone, and then as soon as you hit service, it uploads. I do believe that that's the response, and Anastasia's nodding because she knows about ESRI.
Yeah, I've used the app myself for a different type of planning project, and you store it all on your app, and then if you hit service, it uploads. So you, at least, it is the same type of app that will be used, and it is not like a trial app, like it's been approved in many different municipalities and throughout.
But it requires volunteers to have a cell phone, or
Correct.
are we issuing devices to people? I mean, those are things I think we need to think
I'm
about
sure
if
all
we're
of
going
those
to.
things will be
Yeah.
discussed in the time.
We actually are purchasing devices with another grant that we have that's supposed to pay for the decennial count, and we will use those devices
Okay.
for those who don't have devices.
Other questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go into agency updates. It's my intention that we're going to close the COC coordination meeting at 10 after the hour, and reconvene the business meeting at 10:15. We'll give the business meeting a little bit more time. So let's go around the table and do agency updates, and we'll start with Census.
Okay, so we did close our women's residential perinatal program in Hollister. I intended it to be temporary and reopen hopefully in July. So we didn't have enough local referrals to keep the program going. So I'm working on other contracts, which there has been a demand from other sources for contracts. And so hopefully I'll have them all in place for July 1st and we'll reopen. Did have to lay off half my staff and the other half took open positions in the organization. The clients were offered to finish their program in King City. They had all been there for at least 30 days and nobody took that option. So for Pueblo Del Mar, I'm really happy to, actually, Mr. Gomez and I are gonna have a meeting after the business meeting, but I'm really excited about the new Housing Authority Executive Director because I feel like with my new Pueblo Del Mar Director that we have a really strong desire to fill the housing, which I haven't felt for a really long time at Pueblo Del Mar. So I think real concrete plans are being discussed and implemented. And so I'm feeling very hopeful. You know, we scored very badly due to occupancy on our last, rank and review. Yes, it was a rank and review. And I'm hopeful that we will rebound from that. So, Pueblo Del Mar is an important program here, and I hope everyone agrees. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
So at Housing Resource Center, you know, I'm really impressed. We've been chugging along. We've housed 15 cases, I'll say, because HEAP are not necessarily families. So we've housed 15 cases in 19 days. So we're really on track. My staff jokes about we can slow down. No, we gotta keep going. We gotta keep it going. So that's a big deal for us. Normally we house about 8 to 9 a month. So being mid-month and at 15 is a big deal.
How many of those?
We have 2 that we housed this month for HEAP and 2 that are pending. They look really good. So we'll have 4 housed out of the 8 that we have right now for HEAP. So the other 4, there's just a lot of barriers that we're working through, but we're having a lot of positive outcomes. We're trying to help connect them to disability income. We're trying to connect them to child support that they should have been receiving, and just trying to help them get connected to income sources that they were not connected to previously. And that's gonna help tremendously in finding them housing, as you imagine. That's all the updates.
Anything particular to say about HEAP?
So HEAP, we have a total of 12 cases that we've had come in. There's been a couple of them that have said nothing, basically. We try reaching them, try contacting them. They'll talk to us every now and then. We say, is there a reason why you're not communicating? Are you losing your phone? Is something going on? And they just say, no, we just really don't want to be in the program anymore. We don't want to follow a structure and looking for housing. So there's a few that have chosen to leave on their own accord. We have 8 that are in the program right now. And out of that 8, 4 of them should be in housing at the end of this month. The other 4 we're working on, and we're hoping next week to bring in some more HEAP.
What you're saying resonates with Dorothy's place. We went into this a lot.
Yeah, so for one reason or another, we try to get them to stay and eliminate any barriers or reasons for why they don't want to be in the program, and sometimes it just is what it is. They don't want to be in the program, and so there's no point in trying to keep somebody who doesn't want to be in the program.
Thank you, Denise. Jose?
Well, good morning, everybody. Agency update, the Housing Authority is here to collaborate with all of the partners in our community in the county. We received notice from the federal government, from HUD, that we are no longer on shortfall list, so we are issuing vouchers. So that's great news.
That includes the homeless preference?
That includes everything. And of course, the budget authority that the Housing Authority has throughout the entire year, we have to do a balance because it cannot support the entire voucher program. But that's a dance internally that we have to do in order to support the families. And having been a former employee of the HUD in San Francisco, I have friends in good places, and I will use my influence. I will use my friendships to advocate for our families.
Is there any way that you can see in the foreseeable future that we'll be able to free up more homeless preference vouchers?
Great question, but certainly we can look at it and see what we can do.
Thank you, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Judy or Gina?
So we have some updates in terms of the HEAP. As of today, we have about 45 people enrolled. We completed 11 of them are fully housed. We have 3 who are pending for Moongate. We just signed the request for financial assistance, so we're processing checks today. Yeah, today. So 3 of them will be housed in Moongate. We still have probably 2 or 3 more pending to be enrolled for HEAP, and then a couple of them are pending to be also housed. Agency-wide, in terms of their housing and how many people we have housed, in the last month and a half, it has been probably over 30 to 40 consumers that we have housed, in combination with between private owners, property managers, Coast Valley, Moongate, and Genesee Oaks. So that's, that's all that we have been working on. So we have been keeping the case manager super busy at CSUMB. Sometimes they're like almost every other day at probably at the house in Authority or at Moongate, and probably the month of December they were all at Genesee Oaks. So we are moving along with the housing. We're making quite a bit of progress with HEAP. I think that the goal that we have was about 75. We're at 45, so I think that's great. Again, that now that they are housed, we're going to work on how they are sustaining the housing, because we don't want them to go back to square one and then become homeless again. So now they're stable, so we're going to work on increasing the income. Some of them, they do have a voucher. I know that we're so happy because we have a lot of people waiting on the set-aside voucher. So probably in the next couple of weeks, we may even need an office at the Housing Authority. Because I know that we have a lot of people waiting for those vouchers. I think it was over probably 100 people that would refer for those vouchers. So, and then we also have a disaster preparedness grant that we got to serve. So with that one, we're going to be doing workshops on assisting consumers how to be prepared for an emergency. And we also have some.
So at the state level, they provided us 21 Yeti batteries to provide to community members, not just CESO consumers, community members who have disabilities, with life-threatening disabilities that would be affected with the PG&E shutdowns. So right now we hear that it's very calm right now, but the fire season is coming again. So we are preparing for that, and we're coming up with policies and procedures so that we can disseminate the batteries and give those batteries out and loan them out. Right now we're thinking the way we're going to do the process is we're going to do long-term knockouts. So pretty much they get to keep the batteries. So we're working on creating those policies and procedures so we can get those moving. We don't have a contract with PG&E yet, that's pending. We are looking to see if we can get more money to get more batteries, or how we're going to use that, maybe hotel vouchers or moving forward, but that's still pending on that. So you'll see that coming out soon.
And again, that will be for, those individuals that need like life support, like they have to get oxygen and all of that. So there will be priority for those devices.
How long do the batteries last?
Depends on what they're using it for. The bigger the equipment, or the bigger the one day maybe, depending on what equipment they're using.
We have 22?
We have 21.
Thank you, Cecil.
ETC is operating at record levels. We have 109 people currently living with us. That's 97 veterans, 3 spouses, and 9 children. Last year, as you know, we have emergency, transitional, and permanent housing. In emergency and transitional, we billed almost 2,000 bed days last month. So we're right on the cusp of breaking 2,000 on that. Our occupancy rate is 97%, so we turn beds really quickly. And our next big thing is growing, building an affordable housing complex for 71 new units, which the financing is very dependent on vouchers. So I am very happy to hear that those have been opened up, because we've been working with that for about 7 years, and we're due to break ground this October. So we're very excited about that. That's it.
So, this month, well, last month, we served 145 clients. They participated in different services. And then we're currently working with CHS, the Community Homeless Solutions, and CASH to sign up people for their bridge housing program. So they're gonna try to house between 15 to 20 people. So we've just been doing outreach and trying to connect with the community members in Chinatown to get them signed up for that. And then we've also, this month, we're gonna be hosting our town hall meeting again. So Tina's gonna come and explain the whole process, because they're gonna do a lottery process, so they're gonna explain that again. And then also, we've been hosting the PG&E folks to come in and speak to the residents and let them know what's going on as far as relocating them, because they're gonna, you know, I already told you, you guys already heard about it, they're gonna be digging up that hole and all the people have to move. So every month we have them come and explain to the community members where they are in the process and how they can help, and just try to build a relationship between those two groups. So that's what we've been doing for this month. Those are our updates, and as you know, working hard to get this building together. And that's about it.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Tracy?
I'm probably not the best person to report out on this, but I'll do my best. Enrique Ariola is the Deputy Director over the HEAP program. I know a couple things we've done. We had a HEAP outreach on Friday. Did you go?
I didn't get to go.
Okay. I was in Sacramento, so I wasn't able to attend, but we did have an outreach to inform the community members about the services that we're providing. We're in the process of working with our resource management agency to get our site ready for building or placing buildings on it. We've met with the sheriff. We have a deputy that's supposed to come on board of our team. I'm not sure where we're at with that quite yet. And I know we've housed several people in some rooms and are paying for their rent. I don't know how many, but I know that we're moving in the right direction. So it's been very beneficial to our community, so we're really happy.
Thank you, Tracy. Anastasia?
Yeah, so we submitted HAP as well on Friday. Oh, we did too. Yeah. Thank you. And then I did attend the National Community Development Association conference in last week of January, and a few things did come up that were relevant to the coalition. One was that the certified housing counselors is going to be required for all federal funding, so any grants you're getting, you know, through the coalition we need to ensure we're having proper certified housing counselors. Now,
Who certified them?
HUD.
There's an actual test that you have to take. So like all of our housing specialists are going to training in San Antonio to do a formalized training with some of the HUD contractors. Then you can actually sign up at any testing center basically, and it's a couple hours long test that you're taking. It goes over even things that you're not even going to be working on, even if you're not doing reverse mortgages or you know, anything to do with home purchasing. My counselors are going to have to know how to do that as well as.
So it's for housing navigation.
But you have to have it. So you have to be a HUD approved agency. In order to be a HUD approved agency, you have to have a HUD approved counselor, even if it's just one, to say that your agency has one. I'm doing all three because Lord forbid if one leaves, I don't want to worry about doing this whole process again. But if you, like ESG, I think, HEAP, any of those HUD fundings, you'll have to be HUD approved.
Good, thanks for
Yeah,
that.
and
August 1st.
Yeah, and the coalition funding. Cecil, are you guys gonna?
We had a step person going through the thing, but was never completed, and that step person is no longer with us, but we are going to be probably putting at least 3 people.
And most of the time when people take the test the first time, they fail it. So I would just say try to get them set up by March or April. So if they fail, they have time to study where they failed.
Yeah, so we were doing the online, but you have the info on the site where they can go and take the actual online.
So on the website itself, where it has all the modules for trainings, you can actually sign up to take the course, and it'll show you all the different testing centers,
Yeah.
and you can sign up that way.
Yeah, we are planning on having probably 3 of them. Because we have the ESGs, we have the HEAP, we have cash.
CDBG.
CDBG.
Yeah, and the COC funds is required for those as well, so I don't know exactly like what type of counseling needs to be given for what type of person that's utilizing the funds.
So
but
we're HUD approved, and right now, we just have rental counseling. And it's basically under rental counseling, population homeless is what it has it under. And that's all we need to have. But then once we become, our staff becomes HUD approved counselors, then like when we have when the inclusionary housing happens, not only are we gonna have first time home buyer online, but we can also be a resource for if someone comes in and says, hey, I need more information on how to be a first time home buyer. But you don't have to go down that route. You could just do services for the homeless community. You don't have to be going down home purchasing. That's what that's our work plan.
Anastasia, anything else?
The other, the youth set-aside grant is gonna go up by 80 million. So that may be something that we wanna look at again. I know the coalitions have applied in the past, but the funding is increasing for that, which is really good news. And I think that was pretty much all that was big, but I wanted to make sure that everybody had that on their radar. And I think one big thing that I'm starting to see with the state budget is there's not HEAP, there's not HAP. So what other funding sources can the state, provide so we can sustain people that are housed? So I think that's kind of an important thing for us to focus on. And that's it.
Thank you. Barbara?
We're moving ahead with this housing project that we're planning in Salinas called Sunrose Housing. We received an allocation from the county for part of the transitional housing. It's gonna be a combination of transitional housing plus individual studios. It'll be 11 units and it'll house 17 or 18 people, I can't remember. Most of them in studios and then one 8-bed transitional. And we received an allocation from the county for that in December and filed an application with the state for no place like home funds for project-based rent vouchers for the permanent housing part, and then some of the funding for the capital part. The preliminary scoring looks very good. It looks like unless there's some kind of issue with it, it looks pretty good in terms of getting the state funding, but of course they have to go through all the applications. They have put out the preliminary scoring on it, and it looks good. So we would hope to start construction on this contingent upon getting the state funding by the end of this year. We have site plan approval already from the city of Salinas for this, and we are reusing a property where we have a single family house now, and I've mentioned the new zoning laws allow you to build way, way more than you were able to build previously. There's a density bonus of 80% now for affordable housing effective January 1st. So if you're thinking of building something and you need any information about zoning laws, give me a call. Because we've learned a lot about it through this, so we're working on that.
Thank you.
So on the continuum of care side, that's funding that we have for Safe Passage, our transitional housing for homeless youth ages 18 to 21, and that's cooking. I mean, it's an existing program and it's doing A-okay. It's just cooking along. On the HEAP side, for the Salinas Valley Street Outreach Program, they've been fully staffed for a number of weeks now, and they're connected to resources in the community, and they're continuing to connect with other homeless resources, but started actually doing street outreach early in the new year, and already have about a dozen clients, so that's terrific. On the shelter side, the project went out to bid yesterday, so we're in the process of doing, scheduling the mandatory walkthrough, and we'll be accepting bids. We hope to have enough bids to be able to accept a winning bid March 19, and demolition and construction, well, the demolition part, to begin about April 1st. It probably will take a couple of weeks just to do the demo, and we're still looking at an October 1 open date. And then for sustainability, that program received about 3 months of operating expenses. So if we're open in October, that's October, November, December. We still need 6 months for the rest of the fiscal year. And that fiscal year, cities are determining the budgets right now, so we're already approaching the municipalities to discuss their participation in the sustainability funding plan, or the sustainable funding plan. And so far, those meetings are going really well. They're very well received. This afternoon, we meet with county representatives. So far though, the cities are very much on board with this, so that looks great. And I think that's it.
Fantastic. What can I say about Dorothy's Place? Last couple of months, these are still colder months, we're seeing numbers between 250 and 268, I think might have been the highest daily at Dorothy's Place. Excuse me, that's not correct. Probably between 120 and 130 daily for the month, between 250 and 268. All of our services, like you said, Robin, are just kind of humming along. We are looking to hire a couple of new bachelor's level social workers for House of Peace. We're still reviewing resumes for that. And we're transitioning an office manager. So if anybody knows of somebody that has a social justice bent that would find it exciting to work in the middle of Chinatown as an office manager, please let me know, because these people are not easy to find other ways. Not as easy as a Craigslist post. And that's about all I've got right now. Roxanne, do you have anything to add?
I think it's easy to find these things.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. It's been brought to my attention that I completely skipped over the public comment section this meeting. That was unintentional, and I would like to right now give the public an opportunity to take a couple minutes if they like. And I see Kathy raising a hand.
I thought maybe I didn't hear, you guys were so quick. You guys are doing fabulous. The idea that I come in and there's no seats for me to sit in, particularly seats that I'm used to, means that people are interested, and you're doing really, really good work, and keep it up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to add on the Pueblo side that we currently have 40 families in recovery for substance abuse. We're looking to have another 10 in there by the end of March, beginning of April, so we should be fully housed well before the end of the fiscal year.
That's an amazing transition. Fabulous.
My name is Nancy Goldrain, and I apologize for looking like this today, but my goal is to be on time, so thank you, Roxanne. I am fundraising to provide 2,422 homeless residents in Monterey County an emergency sleeping bag that is waterproof, windproof, retains 90% of someone's body heat, and it also will fold up and fit neatly in a pocket, which we all know that space that you can carry is a very important thing for someone with very little in their lives. This sleeping bag is reusable. It's plastic coated, so it won't be noisy even when they're trying to sleep. Personally, I have been delivering these every morning when I go to CrossFit in Salinas. I have my trunk full of them. I hand them out as needed, and I need to be energized so that I can get them to everybody. I have a company in China who's ready to ramp up and build and create everyone that I need, and I am looking for an additional $10,000 to make my first order, and then I'm also looking for people who can help me distribute them, to knowing where they are and how to get them to the boots on the ground, literally. I'll hang around if anybody has some suggestions for me. My goal is to do it in 2 months, so there you have it.
Thank you very much for that, and please do hang around. And anyone who has not signed in on the list today, please come to the corner of this table and do that.
One more.
Wes.
Please. I noticed that you had published a position paper on drafts or on sweeps. And I was wondering, are we following through with that? Because now we've had 2 notices in Salinas for, specific areas. Chinatown's almost completely along the train tracks if you look at it, because Bridge Street's gone, Market Way's gone, Soledad's almost empty. There's little red corners saying, keep clear, no tents. And so just barely anything, a lake between the alley and Soledad is almost all that's left. So it says on there, it's not a Chinatown sweep, it's only these specific locations, but the only place left is now basically along the train tracks. It's pushing people out. I don't know, are we supposed to intervene? Has the coalition already satisfied its requirements for the position? Because I saw something about, we're going to block it for at least a week. We're going to put porta potties in dumpsters. I understand it's Chinatown already, but, it's still, we should be trying to stabilize people's location. And the census is coming up, so I don't know if maybe we can put some kind of memo or something to the city saying, if you really are concerned about the census and counting people, then you should stop the sweeps for at least a month or at least a couple weeks or something to stabilize people in a location. And then still that goes back to the dumpsters, porta potties, showers, and laundry, and signing people up. And how are we going to legitimize encampments? That's my basic question, because that is affordable housing, and people just need to be somewhere, register them to vote. A homeless voting block would be great. A renter's voting block would be great. Just empowering people. How do we do that?
Okay, with that, the COC coordination meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene in 4 minutes for the